Hey now, all you fly fishing people out there, this is Rob with Buhler Bros Flies for the Kern River Fly Shop. Many of us have some extra time on our hands right now, and some of you have never tied your own fly before. Maybe you got that fly tying kit for Christmas or your birthday and it's sitting up in the cupboard, or you're just curious and are thinking about tying your first fly. We're going to approach today's tutorial as a beginner's class and start kind of from beginners as you're tying your very first fly. This is a Zebra Midge or a Mercury Midge and is an excellent beginner's fly. It is also a great fly to fish on just about any water as it catches fish everywhere. We're going to pop this out and drop in the hook and bead that we'll be using today. We're starting with a size 16 scud hook. And we're using a silver bead with that. So the scud hook is barbless and it's a Togen's scud hook, size 16 again. If you don't have a scud hook, use just a standard nymph hook. If you don't have a nymph hook, go ahead and use a dry fly hook, that's okay. And then the bead we're using today to match that size 16 hook is a tungsten bead and silver and 3/32 diameter, or I think 2.0 millimeter. And if you don't have a bead in silver, go ahead and use gold or copper or whatever you got. If you don't have a bead at all, then we'll go ahead and tie it up without the bead. The thread we're starting with today is black UTC, and it's in 70 denier. And if you don't have the UTC or the 70 denier, go ahead and use whatever you got. Just match it as close as possible, and we'll spin up a little midge here. So we'll put that bead on, and it's called a countersunk bead, which has one side larger than the other. I'm putting the larger side on first, and that's coming up over the eye here. It allows for a smoother tie-in at the back end of the bead here, and then it covers up that eyelid a little bit too. So we're coming in with our bobbin and holding the bobbin between our thumb and index finger and our strong hand or dominant hand, and then putting the thread between the thumb and index finger in the opposite hand behind the hook shank, and keeping tension on both sides but not pulling too tightly. And then we're going to apply tension to the hook shank and wrap around the shank a couple of times, keeping tension on both sides. And then we'll start wrapping toward the back of the hook, wrapping over our previous thread wraps. That'll lock all our thread in there to begin our fly. And we can trim our excess now, or tag end. And then the next material we're going to add is our rib material, which is a small silver wire. If you don't have silver, you don't have small, use whatever wire you have. If you don't have wire, you can use an opposing color thread. That'll create a rib and a segmentation as well. So we're going to attach that wire rib and put it on our side of the hook shank. And you want to keep your materials not too far out from your fingertips. The further out you have it, the harder it is to wrap around the hook. So just a little bit of material coming out from your fingertips on your side of the hook shank, and then bring that thread up and over to gather material in place. A couple more wraps will secure it in place, and then we can start wrapping toward the back. Keeping that wire on top of the hook shank as we go, so you can hold tension on the wire back here as you keep wrapping the thread. And then we're going to go down past the bend just a little bit on this scud hook. If you have a dry fly hook or a nymph hook with a straighter shank, just go to where it starts to bend on the end of the hook, and as it starts to bend, that's where we'll go ahead and stop our thread, and then start coming back forward with similar wraps, doing one wrap right in front of the last, creating an even smooth body. And then on this UTC thread, you can spin it counterclockwise, and it'll flatten it out a little bit, and it makes a smoother body Let's see if I can do a couple more spins there and flatten it out for you so you can see. There we go, starting to flatten out a little bit now. And then continue your wraps forward all the way up to right behind that bead. And we'll do a couple extra wraps here and come back again, and we'll do a little taper to taper up that thorax area. And now we can leave our thread hanging, and we'll start to wrap our rib. And we'll grab the wire and go around the hook shank the same way we went with our thread. Always go in the same direction, that'll tighten everything in. And then we'll do evenly spaced wraps with our wire here. Maybe 7 or 8 through the body. And you can come, oops, sorry about that. You can come underneath, bring your wire underneath, then go to the other side and transfer your hands and come back under again. That one was a little, spread that out a little bit. That's a little more evenly spaced now. And then we'll come up and under with another wrap. And just continue this as you go up toward that bead. And we can get one last wrap in here and bring that wire straight up above the hook. And now we're going to bring the thread behind the wire to capture that wire in place and do 2 or 3 securing wraps. And keep tension on your wire down here, holding your bobbin tightly. And then you can spin this wire and that thin wire will pop right off so you don't have to use your scissors. And then all we're going to do is take a few more thread wraps here up at this collar or thorax area just to cover up where we tied in or tied off the wire. And then to finish this, we need to do a small knot. There's several ways to do that. You can do a half-hitch knot or a whip finish. So I'm going to do the half-hitch knot, and you can come in with a little peace sign here. I got the fingers face away from me with the thread behind it. You spin that over and make a small knot. So we got a little circle here you can see. We're coming back right behind the bead. And we can switch hands here. I'm going to take my finger to go inside of that circle and then draw that knot tight. That was kind of tough to follow there without seeing it largely, but I can flip my thread over to create a little circle, come behind the hook over here, switching into the other index finger to hold the loop. And then you can tighten everything in between these 2 fingers as you bring your thread in. One more time, do 3 of those. They're called half-hitch knots, so you can look that up. If you can't see it here, you can look that up online and watch someone else do a half-hitch knot. And then if you pull counterclockwise and it doesn't spin, everything's locked in tight, and we're all set. And we can come in and trim our excess. And then we've got a finished fly here, but to really secure it or lock it in and add a little bit more gloss and realism to this fly, we're going to add a simple household item, which is super glue. This happens to be the Loctite version of super glue. So we're going to take some of that Loctite and spread it on another household item, toothpick. There's fancy tools for this, but we can just use a toothpick. And then we're going to coat up that body really good and go all the way around the hook here. Get the top and bottom. And that's going to soak in, and it's going to add a lot of durability, but it's also going to add a little glossy coat, just like the real midges have, or real insects have. And there we've got our first fly, Chironomid or a midge, and it is the Zebra Midge or the Black Beauty. So hopefully you guys can tie up your first fly here and then be able to go out and fish it soon when we can all go back out on the water together. Hope you had a good time here, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.